Alright guys, welcome back to your 5th tutorial on how to make a sweet AJAX chat room. And in this video, we're going to be getting into the good stuff. We're going to be making the class that pretty much takes care of all the important stuff, making or posting a new message, getting the message, deleting messages, all of the core functionality of the chat room. So let's go ahead and create a new file. And I'm just going to save this as... Let's save this as chat.class.php. So this is going to be a class file, and actually you can get rid of these. We're done with those. Aren't going to be editing them or anything. So the first thing I want to do is just make my PHP tags. And after this, what we need to do is require once the two files that we created. The first one is config.php, and of course this one has our database information so we can actually connect to the database, and the other one is our error handler. So require once Bucky error handler, and that's of course the file that whenever we have an error and we want to handle it with our custom. Actually, let me tighten that up. There we go. So she said. And now what we need to do is we need to build this class. So anytime you want to build a class in PHP, class, and then the name of your class, which is typically capitalized, is chat. And a lot of people do this. Move that to the new line. I guess it makes sense. It's kind of lined up, but I don't really like doing that. But I'll do it for you guys since, it's kind of, standard. Now, the first thing we need to build is the pretty much the database handler, the object that's going to connect and open a database connection. So this is going to be a private variable because we don't want any other files or classes using it. And we're going to be using MySQL improved, so it's not going to be a typical MySQL. There's two different ways to connect to a database in PHP. You can use MySQL, which is kind of the older technique, or MySQLi, which is MySQL improved, and I highly recommend switching over to this. The old MySQL functions are beginning to be deprecated, so in this tutorial I'm going to show you guys the proper way, the newer way to do it. And after this, actually let me give myself some room to work with. Now the first thing we want to do is we want to build a constructor, and this constructor is just going to open a database connection. So as soon as you create an object from this class, this function is going to run. So function 2 underscores and name it construct, and you can't like name this something else if you don't like this. It has to be 2 underscores and named construct. That's just standard how you build a constructor in PHP. So in order to connect to the database, well, tongue twister, and establish a connection to it, this is how you do this. This, which pretty much means this object, and then my SQLi, and set this equal to new MySQLi. Now there are a couple parameters that this takes. Now remember that we defined all of these in our config file. So if you forgot it, or if you named your things differently than my config file, then just go ahead and open it. But the first thing is, actually let me open it and show you guys. Config. The first thing is the database name, or, well, not the database name, the name of your server, or this should be localhost. Hopefully it is an IP address, and it's dbhost. The next one is the user of your database, and that's dbuser. Now the third parameter is the password, and crap, you know what? I forgot I changed mine so you guys weren't gonna hack my database, and now I just frickin' showed you guys again, so now I gotta change it again before I post this video. I don't trust any of you suckers. And the last one is your database name, and I actually spelled that wrong, so let me change that. Database. Alright, looks good. So let me save this and save this. So that or those are the parameters that you need. So whenever we create an object from this chat class, the first thing it's going to do is run this function automatically. You don't need to call it. And what this function is going to do is basically establish a database connection. So now we're connected to the database, but before we start, posting messages or reading messages from it, we need to make a destructor. And sometimes I call this a deconstructor. I don't know why, just, kind of fun to say, but it's actually called a destructor. Destructor closes database connection. So this is what the destructor is going to do. And actually, let me cheat a little bit. Don't feel like typing all that. Now, you know how you put underscore underscore construct for your constructor? Well, whenever you make a destructor, it's destruct. And guys, you can only have, or how should I say this? For the constructor and the destructor, if you never work with object-oriented PHP, you have to name these the specific names. You know how when you typically make a function, you can name it anything you want, like eat tuna. You could even name it eat tuna. With the constructor and the destructor, you have to name it underscore underscore construct or destruct. It's just the rules of PHP. So whenever you first make an object from this class, you open a database connection. You're connected to the database. Now, whenever your object gets destroyed, what you want to do is you want to close your connection to the database. It's basically just good housekeeping or good programming standards. So in order to do that, just go ahead and use, whatever object, this. And this basically means the object that you're working with right now, the object from this class, MySQLi, and close. So again, like I said, whenever your object gets whenever your object gets deleted or whatever you want to call it, your connection to the database is closed. So now that we have our constructor and our destructor, basically our housekeeping things, we can now go on to the good stuff, what we are here for, and that's making the functions that we care about, deleting the messages from the database, reading the messages in our chat room, posting messages to the chat room, all of the good stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this, and now I have to change my freaking password so you guys don't hack my database. And when we come back, we're going to be, making all the cool functions to read messages, post messages, all the cool functions for our chat room. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to check out my social network. I'm going to plug it like crazy. And I'll see you guys in the next video.